Welcome to the Not Your Typical Agent podcast, helping guide you through all things real estate. My name is Caracci. I am a licensed real estate broker in the state of Illinois. Let's get started. On today's podcast, we're going to discuss some things that I look for whenever a new listing hits the market. It's not uncommon that some of the inventory that comes through as new is in fact has been reactivated, or it is being presented as new from the listing agent in order to gain new interest or renewed interest from potential buyers. So the first thing I look at whenever I see a new listing hit the market is I take a look at the property history to see, has this been reactivated? How long has it been on the market? Was it canceled? Was there an issue where it was reactivated after it had gone contingent with the buyer, meaning they were under contract with a buyer and then it was reactivated for a particular reason? The next thing that I typically will then look at, if everything matches up, is I'll take a look at the tax record to see who owns the property, when did they purchase the property, when did they take a mortgage out, how did they finance the property, kind of just gauge as much information as possible about a particular home. The next thing I look at is the tax assessor map, which will lay out specific zones which may present a huge problem to a buyer. Specifically, what I look for is floodplains to see whether or not the home falls within a particular floodplain, which if you've ever experienced something like that or have kind of researched your what flood insurance will cost you, I mean, you're looking at that could be an additional $400 to $500 a month expense. So I make sure that the home is not located in a floodplain, and if so, to what degree of flood insurance it would require in the event the buyer was still interested in pursuing it. If everything matches up with the tax record, the next thing I look at is the property disclosures, meaning in Illinois we have the seller property disclosures, we have radon, we have mold, and you have lead-based paint if the property was built before 1978. I look into these in detail to make sure if there is anything that is being disclosed about the particular property to review and assess before we set up a showing for a buyer. The one final step that I do when I'm taking a look at a home for a potential buyer is I make sure that what the actual value of the home is reflected in the list price, that the seller of the particular home isn't reaching or being overly aggressive on what they are trying to get for a property. We have a very good understanding of what things are worth. It's something that I do when I have a listing presentation where I give my sellers a range, what I believe their home will sell for. And I do the same thing from a buyer's perspective, just to make sure that it's something that would make financial sense for them at a list price, or whether or not we would need to do some serious negotiating in order to get it at what the home is worth. Ultimately, by spending a few minutes to do some research on a property before we ever step foot in it, I'm not only saving myself time, I'm also saving a buyer time and making for a much better buyer experience. And by providing that positive experience, you are earning a client for life and will hopefully be there to guide them through their next real estate transaction. Thanks for listening.